Okay, so we're gonna do a patch rundown for the last patch on TFT that is going to change a lot of things. As you can see in this preview, we have 3 new classes and a lot of changes and many new units. So we're gonna talk about this and analyze it through. So this is like an overall highlight of everything that's in the new patch. We have all these new units that we're going to see later, and these three new classes. And it's also they added these 3 little legends. I think they're cool. I like this one a lot. I like this one a lot. This is okay. Um, but my favorite one is this one, I think. It's so cute with this little meeps thing. And it's also, since it's sort of like the second season of this year, they have a new pass and a new little achievement timeline. So these are the 3 new traits. Astro, which is Bard, Nar, and Timo. When there's 3 Astro champions, they reduce their mana cost by 30. So this doesn't mean that their mana cost is gonna turn into 30. It means that it's gonna be lowered down by 30. Then we have Battlecast, which is a very big class. As you can see, they have 4 different stages from 2 to 8. The Battlecast champions, upon dealing or taking 10 instances of damage, heal for 70, 160, 325, and 600 if below half health, or deal the same magic damage to the nearest enemy if above half. So how does this work? 10 instances of damage. That can be Static Shift, that can be Morello, that can be Red Buff, that can be any instance of damage. It can be basic attacks, abilities. If you hit multiple people, like for example with Static Shift or with area ults, that counts as more than one instance of damage. And if your units are less than half health, they will heal this amount of health, or if they are over half health, they will deal the damage to the nearest enemy. So I think this, for the first levels, is going to be very significant because having 4 units in your field, like playing 4 Battlecast for only 160 magic damage or healing, is going to be very costly, but it ramps up very quickly for the 6 Battlecast and 8 Battlecast. So I think 6 Battlecast is a possibility for a composition. And then we have Paragon, which is one of these only 1 unit or very few unit traits, such as Starship, for example. It only affects to Janna because Janna is the only Paragon in the game, and she's also a Star Guardian. And basically, when a Paragon is on the field, all ally Star Guardian basic attacks are converted to true damage, only the basic attacks. And all other allies' basic attacks are converted into magic damage, and this means all allies that are not Star Guardian, okay? So have that in mind. New champions, we have Nautilus, which is Astro Vanguard, tier 2. Normally there's no much thing about it. It's a knock-up, it's a real CC. It stands for quite a long time, which is something you have to have in mind. It doesn't deal a lot of damage, but I think it's more for the strength than for the damage. Then we have Bard, which is really an interesting unit. Bard, every time he casts, he spawns a meep, and you can sell those meeps for XP. So it takes 1 spot of your bench, and each one gives 1 experience. The passive, that's sort of like the ability, and the passive is that in 1 star he gains 8 mana, in 2 star 20 mana, and in 3 star 90 mana. This unit, as I've seen, it's mostly used for the creep rounds to try to get the most utility out of it and get the most XP out of a creep round when you don't have to face another person. But you can also, like, if you're loose streaking and you feel you're going to have a late game peak, so you want to like come back, this is the unit also to like build up that momentum. And then we have Nar, which is the same Nar as we had in the first set of TFT. It's the tier 4, just like that Nar. It converts itself into Mega Nar, and it sort of sweeps everyone in the area of his ulti. It sweeps and moves them, and also stunning them for 2 seconds. And it's like a lot of AoE and a lot of CC, so it's a pretty important unit. Then we have Timo, which is an Astro Sniper, and his ability is satellite traps, so he throws traps to people and they explode and make that magic damage, just like in the normal League of Legends games. Then we have Illaoi, which is Valka's brother, just it doesn't have nothing interesting to her. She deals magic damage in a line with her ability, which is the tentacle, like the Q in the actual game. Nocturne, which is Valka's infiltrator. So they removed Valkyrie, and with it they removed Kaisa and they removed Kale. So they're putting 2 new infiltrators to make up for that void, if you will. So Nocturne just stuns a guy. That's basically what he does, and does a little bit of damage only to one person. So that's to have in mind. We have Kog'Maw, which is a Valkas blaster, and his ability is sort of like a turret where he stays and shoots very fast. You see 80 attack speed, and our attacks deal a little bit more damage, maximum health, which is not a lot. 2%, 4% is not a lot. But I feel like this was like too little, so they added this for good balance and good measure. Cassiopeia, our battlecast is the Mystic. This unit is mostly useful against Iron Locket of Solari, Protector. Don't be confused by the damage. If you see the description, is damage over 12 seconds, which in many fights it doesn't last 12 seconds and it doesn't add up, so it doesn't go faster. It's 700, 1500, and 1300. So it's okay. It's fine. The most important part is reducing the effectiveness of shields used on them by 50%. So this is like a direct counter to all protectors, to Karma, many units that put shield, and obviously Iron Locket of Solari. Then we have Victor, body class sorcerer, does a lot of damage. It's like sort of a ray that burns the floor. That's sort of the animation it does. It deals magic damage as health. That's important to know because against tanks, it's very important to do max health instead of just plain damage. But then it also does normal damage on an explosion. So if the unit stays in the same square, he will get the first damage and then the second damage, which is only 1 second apart. So if it doesn't move very quickly directly after getting the first damage, you're gonna get damaged twice. And it's a pretty good amount of damage for both the max health and the magic damage in a normal setting. That's why it's a tier 4, it's a pretty broken unit. Then at tier 5, Battlecast Protector. I don't see why Urgot would be a protector because its role in the actual game in League of Legends is not to be a protector. But I guess it works like that. Fireside Drill, true damage, just like normal Urgot will be in the actual game. It's sort of an execution, sort of say, so it's a tier 5 unit, so that's why it's actually this crazy. Urgot's mana cost is reduced, so leveling up is not going to change the damage, it's going to only change the mana cost. Then Janna, the Star Guardian Paragon, we talked already about Paragon, summons 5 tornadoes. They do not do damage to the enemies. It's mostly for the attack speed for the allies. So Janna is a champ that even if it's tier 5, it's thought as a helper to all the units that are already in the board. So if you're in this position where you don't have a strong team, you're not looking to put a Janna in to start to get that push. You're looking at Janna as an extra push when you already have a decent team that maybe is not doing as well as you wanted. But it still knocks up enemies for 1.5 seconds, which is not much, but it's something. We have Reno, which is a Chrono Blade Master, tier 4. gives the most important part of the ability. As you can see, it has 3 phases, but the most important part is the last part in which she throws a wave, which makes a lot of damage, and AoE as well. But in the first half, she heals herself, then slashes forward in the second half, didn't make magic damage, but not much magic damage. And in the third cast is what I said, leaps into the air, launches a wave of energy. Vayne, another sniper, so they added 2 snipers, and now we have 4 snipers as a class. Tier 3, it just rolls to one side so it can dodge things, and it cannot be tackled while tumbling away. And then, look, you see invisible whale tumbling. And then the basic attacks deal extra damage. And Set is the other infiltrator I was talking about, so they deleted Kaisa for Set and Nocturne, and Set is the other one. So I don't think either of these is like an exact replacement, or like a replacement is in terms of like quality of it. Like it replaces the utility of a real Kaisa, but they're both decent. So I don't know. I think I will be still playing some infiltrators because that's kind of a thing that I like, and they also buffed them a little bit unit by unit. So we're gonna see that. Every third attack Set deals a percentage of the target's damage and deals bonus magic damage, just more or less like the passive in the real game. So as I said, they removed Valkyries, they also removed Void, and they removed Kha'Zix, they removed Kaisa, they removed Cho'Gath Vel'Koz. So they basically removed every champion that was part of these 2 traits, plus Sona Kassadin, just because they are more mystics. So in theory, you're gonna have it easier to make mystics, or to add it in like by a chance, and you don't have to like seek it out. But you don't have Kassadin, which I'm really happy, because it could actually destroy your whole gameplay and your whole experience. And then Sona, which I don't know why really, and then Lux, which I don't know why really either, but they deleted it, I don't know. And they deleted the Galaxy, which was the galaxy that started with all 4 level units, which I think it was unfair, because it was because if you don't get like your perfect or the best 4 tier unit, you're already much behind on every other guy, and it created a lot of difference between the top and the bottom, and it was pretty hard to come back if you already started. But all of these rankings doesn't really matter. This is the percentage of each game. Normal goes a little bit down, and the probability of getting any of the other galaxies is pretty high, at 80%, 10% each. This is important, the miscellaneous. Number of tier 3 champions in the pool for 16 to 18. So now 2 people can make 3-star tier 3 in their bench or in their actual board, which was not possible with 16, because 9 is the minimum to make a tier 3, and 18 is 9 by 2. Then they also, this is very, very important, very crucial for the gameplay. Sell value increases, so now you're not losing that much money if you're selling your 2-star or your 3-star champions at the mid game. And this only goes up for tier 1 champions and for tier 3 champions, 2-star and 3-star tier 1 champions. So this shouldn't make it super, super hard to transition when you already have really good units but useless units. They changed like 5% in sub drop chances in level 9 and level 4, which is not really a really big deal. This is another thing, Nico's help always works. Back then, I don't know if you guys noticed, but Nico's help didn't work if every single unit of that type or of that specific unit was taken out of the pool, and now it just creates an extra one. So this is the trade balances. Blade Master a little bit more powerful, especially in the second and in the second part, from 55 to 70, which is a more gradual ascent. It doesn't give you, it gives you a really big a really big advantage in the middle, especially not having Kale. They have to give you this edge, sort of say, but it also cuts some of the reward of doing a 6 Blade Master instead of just 4. Brawler, a bit less bonus health in the 4 trait. Celestial 6 is only attainable via Celestial Orb. No one was really going Celestial, so we don't care. Celestial 4 is gold and Celestial 6 is chromatic. This is only for the appearance of it. Celestial goes for 15, 35 and 62, 15, 40 and 99. So maybe 6 Celestial is gonna be a little bit of a reward, also because you have to have the spat. But I still believe that 2 Celestial and 4 Celestial is not the way to go, and you're gonna tank so much damage trying to go for that comp that it's not gonna pay off even if you give you get the 9 Celestial or the 8 Celestial or whatever it takes, 6 Celestial. 8 Chrono from 6 to 8, so it's like 2, 4, 6, 8 instead of 2, 4, 6 only. Still, I think that the Chrono trait is too weak to go for as an 8 Chrono or a 6 Chrono build. It's good for the first stages, maybe a little bit for the mid game if you're like really extending from very good Chrono units from the beginning, but it's not the way to go. Cybernetic, a little bit less damage for the 6 cybernetic, but a little bit more for the 3 cybernetic. So these transitions, the trait from me being like a tank to like more of a damage trait. Darkstar breakpoints are not uneven numbers. Now it's even numbers. It's 2, 4, 6, 8 instead of 3, 6, 9. So if the breakpoints change to 3 to 4, now it also like scales up slowly from 25 and 30 to 8, 16, 24 and 32, which is a little bit of a nerf if you think about it, because here having 3 units gives you more damage than having 4 units now. I didn't really see Darkstar, the sense of Darkstar before, and I definitely don't see it now just to make like a 6 Darkstar or an 8 Darkstar team. But now, this is the most important part, because Darkstars now get their damage buffs whenever an ally dies, rather than with other Darkstar dies. And what do I mean by this? It means that any ally that dies is gonna give them the buff. And the buff is what you're seeking when you have Darkstar. So now it's gonna be a much more important 2 or 4 Darkstar trait, because you're not gonna do 8 Darkstar because that would be like going the old Darkstars. But it's a really good thing to implement over time, and also implement if you're going, for example, snipers and you have Gen, and you add a Darkstar just to buff that Gen. With any ally, you don't need to like sacrifice the Darkstar you're adding. Infiltrator goes a little bit down in the first and in the second, and then in the 6 Infiltrator part it goes the same. Mystic Magic Resistance, again, it goes a little bit up with all the new Mystics. This is going to be like a great add-on to other traits. Protector shield amount go a little bit up, but if you have this Cassiopeia, it's not gonna be enough. But at least it's more usable now. I didn't see any possibilities of going Protector as your tanks before. Because the units are weak and the trade was weak, and now it's a bit less weak, and it scales more. It gives you more payoff for the effort, but I don't think it's good enough still. 2 sniper goes for 15 to 10% bonus damage per hex, but also because there's 4 snipers, which go 18, which is more obviously, and that would be Timo, Ash, Jin, and Vayne. Removed 8 sorcerer. I don't think 8 sorcerer was even a thing ever. Maybe you could see it here and there. You can say, oh, so much damage, but you need some tankiness to try to achieve that that time you need to scale up to that damage. So sorcerer bonus spell power goes up a bit on the 4 and the 6. Well, not in the 6, only in the 4. Star Guardian mana distribution from 30 to 25 and from 50 to 40. Which is less amount of mana. But one thing that they corrected was that after the first mana share, sort of, the Star Guardians didn't give the correct amount of mana to each unit after the first share, and now they are going to give the correct amount of mana. And this is a buff overall because even though you're sharing less amount of mana, you're not losing because the mana is not sharing anymore. 9 Star Guardian, which is 55 mana. It's not a big change, but whatever. No one is going to go 9 Star Guardian, sorry. Vanguard armor goes a little bit up on the 4 Vanguard side, which is really good for my Vanguard infiltrators. Also 6 Vanguard with 1,000 armor, which is insane. 1,000 armor is like, whoa, 1,000 armor. Against magic, maybe you'll die and you'll get obliterated, and that's it. But against Blade Masters, against Battlecast, if you go any Battlecast that goes for AD, because Battlecast actually deal magic damage, but for anything, for snipers, absolutely no damage you're gonna get, that's for sure. And then they made a big adjustment on the mech pilot, so they actually nerf quite heavily the actual mech pilot, so it doesn't really make that much damage. The actual mech, the actual tank, really big 3 unit composite. But now they buffed the individual components like Annie, Fizz, and Rumble, so that's really good. It's still viable. It's still viable, honestly, just for the value of those units. One thing I like is the Fizz buff, just because I like Fizz and I would use it on Infiltrator alone for like the soul buff that they made. Champions Variant is a really good, really big part of it. Annie, they buffed it a lot more damage, a lot more shield. It's much more crucial. Ash, they reduce the mana, so it procs more, but they also reduce the damage, especially at higher levels. But higher missile speed, so no one can like move at the last minute and actually dodge it. Ezra mana decreased a lot, a lot. It still starts at 50, but now top is 80, so you're gonna get 1 or 2 or even 3 procs much more easily. Attack speed, base attack speed goes up, so it also scales better. Damage of the ability goes down, but it's sort of only for the actual benefits that the ult does, more than the actual damage. Chase health goes up by 100, which is a lot. It was already a broken unit, so it's pretty awesome. Neko pop blossom damage goes down, which I think is a pretty big error because Nico was like a bad unit, like a bad unit, if you know what I mean. Like, my god, it was a bad unit. Yes, it stands, but like it doesn't do damage. It doesn't tank like a protector should. And since it takes so much time to get the ult actually going, and the shield of the protectors were not good and still is not good, it didn't serve its purpose. And now with less damage, it doesn't even serve the damage purpose. Rumble health goes up. This is all the changes to the mech pilots, like the actual units. More health to Rumble, less top mana so it procs more the ability, more damage to the flame speeder by a lot. Then Seiko, pretty big, also attack damage boost. So it scales better, the ult scales better. The Siva attack damage bonus goes up, so the ability goes up. So even if it's scaled super good, with Deathblade, for example, now it's gonna scale even better. Syndra top mana goes down, so only 60. I think this might cut it to one less basic attack to charge it up. Damage of the per orb, this is per orb. For the ult goes down, but now she does not loses the ult if it's casted against an enemy that's very low life. All the extra damage is not lost; it's just redirected to another one. So that's really crucial. I think this is overall a buff, even though the damage itself got nerfed. And then we have another buff. So we already to the mechs. We already saw to Rumble, we already saw Annie, and this is Fizz. So 100 more Fizz health, more base attack speed, so it scales better. Less top mana, even though it's less starting mana, it still takes him less time to charge the first ult because this is 70 mana that she has to charge up, and Fizz only has to charge up 60 now, and then he has some probability to cast a second time because this is only 120. And then the actual damage goes up by 100, then 100, then 3000 for this. So this is almost like for sure a execution, which is really awesome. Jin attack damage goes down just because it's gonna scale so aggressively if you have 4 sniper. So this changes towards sniper, less less base attack speed, but now it scales up with level, so it's the same base attack speed for level 2, and for level 3 it's a really big boost of actual attack speed. This is not the attack speed that scales the passive, it's the actual speed of the attacks, which is really incredible considering that you have like in less than 4 seconds you're going to give the potentiated basic attack. Jinx rocket damage 125 to 150, then it goes up for the second level and it goes up for the third level. This is very good extra damage, but Jinx no longer fires extra rockets with their blaster trait, and I don't think with their Runans either, so even though the damage goes up on the actual rockets of the third stage of his ult, no actual, it doesn't actually like sort of sweep the team out, which was like the good thing of it. Then they made a new, with the Radiant they make sort of a rework. It starts already proccing his fighters. This doesn't mean anything. It deals less damage per fighter, especially at the beginning, but now drains mana, which is like a new utility for him. Also, Echo starts with more mana, so it's more probable that he procs, and he will proc earlier his first ult, but it's pretty sure that it's not gonna be a second ult because of 150. Then the damage goes down. It's more of the utility of the stop, unlike the pause, than the damage Echo does itself. And also it's more of the utility of the amount of units he reaches. And now he doesn't hit every enemy once, because for example, Echo would proc a second ulti once in like a lot of time, but he would and only hit 3 people because it's like the later stages of the fight. And now he hits 5 times, 7 times, and 20 times in total. So if he has to hit 20 times one guy or like 7 times 2 people, it's gonna actually pay off. Gunplank starting mana goes down, so it's harder for him to proc the actual abilities. It's 90 mana he has to build up instead of 75, but now it's just a little bit more probable that he will actually get a second ult, which is so rare. Then all this is general. They made a lot of armor and magic resistance to almost every tank and every most of the units that will be put in the front line. This is to counteract all the buffs we saw up there, which are all damage buffs. So this is to counteract the overall speed that the game is being played at. And this is some item changes. Chalice of Harmony, which was the printer item, the one that Sona did that gave mana to everyone. Now is Chalice of Power instead of Harmony, and it's instead of being area, it's just like left and right, just like the locket would be, for example. It goes up, it buffs IP, so it's damaged instead of mana. More lifesteal for the Broad Sea Thirster. Its death-based stack gives less damage, so it will scale up on 30 every assist or every kill, and now it's 25. I do think that it still is really good for Seiko. But Caspain replaces Demolitionist charge. Demolitionist is really unfair, I think. There's no longer demo spat. So demo spat means with demo spat I mean that a spatula item that makes someone a demolitioner, and it was really unfair. For example, for Misfortune, or for I don't know, Fez, or for Nico or something like that, that would like hit so many units in an area and actually is not a demolitionist. So you can no longer make a demolitionist someone out of the thin air, and the most part is no longer a thing, and now Battlecast Pad is for the same actual recipe. Giant Slayer, instead of 18 or 15, it's 20 bonus to damage. And if the unit is very tanky, it's 80 until it's less tanky. So it's actually insane for the first parts of the fight. Hextech Gunblade, a little bit more healing from spell damage, from 25 to 35, which is a big change. Infinity Edge, this is a pretty big change. Instead of increasing total critical strike damage, now it's 100% critical strike chance and only 20% critical strike damage. So now, not only this just deletes the frustration of having a unit that has one Infinity Edge or two Infinity Edges, and by the bad luck you have, he doesn't proc a critic attack in like 2 or 3 times. Now it's like 100% of the time, but this no longer buffs combining this item with a Jewel Gauntlet. A Jewel Gauntlet now not only adds holder spells can crit, but also more critical strike damage. So in its own, it's gonna do a better job instead of needing an IE to power itself up. Looting Echo starts scaling remove, so it does no longer scale on whether you have a 2-star or a 3-star unit, and it does 200 magic damage per bounce. So it no longer goes from 175 to 180 and then 225. It just goes 200 at all levels, which is broken for the beginning and a little bit watered down for the end. So this is a mid-game item, and it's great as it is. Now in Rapid Fire Cannon, attacks can miss and anything else changes. Now red buff, instead of going over a lot of time, it goes for over 4 seconds, but it's less burn damage. So this, by the way, procs the Battlecast thing. But now this goes faster, so this with Battlecast goes really well. It does less damage, but it's actually gonna do the damage, because there's many fights where 10 seconds, since it's procced, is not the whole battle, and it's gonna end sooner. So this almost assures that you are going to use that item for something. Now, instead of Seraphs, we have blue buff. Now you cannot stack blue buff. So blue buff, what it makes is that after casting a spell, your mana is automatically 20. Seraph, what will do is increase it by 20. So if you put 3 Seraphs, it increases by 60, and this doesn't not stack. Warmock's armor, now instead of regen, gives 600 health. So this is not a regen item, it's just for tankiness. Like you can put this in someone and make him like 1,000 health more, which is a lot, and just like that's it. You can put it in anyone without having the fear that the regen is not gonna do anything. That's like sort of the thing. And bug fixes, this is sort of like general, no need to look mobile. This doesn't apply to us as we're streaming. So yeah, that was the whole thing.